compensation. And the other thing is that the d5 idea at any moment could result in your king getting mated. So you have to both create counterplay and keep an eye on your king, which is very weak. And I don't see how to do it. F5 is like the most obvious move. I'm actually thinking about some kind of crazy A5 here. Just because I plays
Goes for
F5?
F5.
It's
on
losing
the
on the
board.
spot.
And oh my gosh,
Rook takes E6?
drops another pawn.
What does
That's
he
the
want?
third pawn that Jan gives up.
F takes G4, let's D5, Bishop E5, Rook E5. I don't see the idea there for black. It's
What
just
is he
checkmate,
doing?
no?
I'm shocked. I'm
Is
confused.
Is this Jan on tilt?
Rook E6, I don't understand it. F3 is his idea?
So F3. So we need to analyze this.
It has to be
E6.
F3, otherwise you resign, no? F3 or
Right,
you
'cause
resign?
D5 is devastating. So F3. So your point, just to show that white could get checkmated if your bishop were to take, that would be silly because you get checkmated in one. Okay, so F3. If queen takes F3, you're trying to take on G4 and expose an attack against this queen over
It has
here.
an easy refutation. D5, Bishop to E5, Rook takes E5, F takes G2, and I think just maybe King G2 also wins, but King H2 is a very simple solution, I think. And yeah, the king is safe. F takes G4 leads to mate after Rook to F5, among probably other moves as well. Or Rook G5, whatever you want. Knight takes E5, Queen E5 will, yeah, white is...
And he played it. He played Rook
The
E6.
board.
This is complete craziness. I
This is
can't
bizarre.
imagine this.
This is bizarre. I don't know what Jan has been doing for the last 5 moves, but it's been an absolute disaster. Every single move he's lost out on an advantage, given the chance to Ding to strike back. And did you see that? Ding actually looked at Jan. He looked at Jan there with this puzzled expression. Jan has blown this away. Rook E6 on the board. No way for Jan to come back. If F3 doesn't work, that is the third pawn that Jan has just given to Ding for free. What is this? This is supposed to be a world championship match.
And this is why Ding Liren played Rook E2. That was a really subtle idea. It was just defending, of course, a pawn that was under attack. But he made it so Jan could not successfully play this active move F5. So I think that Ding Liren deserves a ton of credit. Yes, Jan Nepomniachtchi is absolutely collapsing at this stage of the World Championship Game 12. But Ding has created some problems for Jan. Jan's created problems for himself as well. And now the game's just over. There's no way to save this king.
Did you see Jan there? It looked like he was so angry at himself for what he allowed. He couldn't even look at the board. He was just talking to himself, just in complete disbelief of how he's just left the title, the World Championship crown, just slip out of his hand in this game 12. Jan Nepomniachtchi feeling the heat. Ding Liren in driving seat is not just about losing this game and Ding striking back. But if that was to happen at this moment, Jan knowing what he messed up, Fabi, the momentum of the match will completely shift in Ding's favor with this comeback.
Yeah, it's difficult to because on the one hand, I really feel for Jan in this moment. It's clear that the pressure got to him, and I think that it got to him because he probably realized that he was on the verge of winning a game which would probably win him the match. We can't say with certainty, but with great likelihood, 2-point margin would be too much to handle. And at that very moment, when we were already calling for, like, maybe Jan is going to become world champion very soon, every move, like, we can basically criticize pretty much every move he made. It became like a bullet game, just instant moves, and within the span of 10 moves, at least like 7 serious mistakes. Just very, like, the quality just went basically to 0. So, and with 40 minutes on the clock, not like when Ding collapsed in game 7, it was shocking, but it was still very much associated with time, trouble, panic. This was unprovoked mistakes, just pressure of the match dictated what happened in the end of this game. And now he's of course, as soon as Rook takes E6 happened, he understood what he had done to his position, but it was already headed that direction. Like, he had gone from completely winning to like, just compare the position before B4 and before F5. It's the same position without his B and C pawns, exactly the same. he's just missing his B and C pawns. Besides that, the position is identical. We've maneuvered a lot, but the B and C pawns somehow magically disappeared from the board, and obviously something went pretty wrong for that to happen. So
Yes.
yeah, just he's definitely kicking himself. Who knows what this means for
Bobby,
the rest
this
of
is
the match.
heartbreaking to watch. To watch Jan right now is pain because he can feel it. He's talking to himself. He's not being able to look at the board. This was a big missed opportunity. Jan Nepomniachtchi from a completely winning position. And it was flawlessly played by Jan up to that point. Ding hanging on by a thread. And then just a bad move, one after the other, has seen a complete collapse. And at this World Championship stage, I'm not used to seeing something like this. We usually see play, which is, we've seen the highest accuracy by these two players in the previous games. And Robert, this has been shocking and currently just heartbreaking to watch Jan on the board.
It's been shocking, but if you think of the match overall, is this the first time where Ding Liren received some luck? Because when I think of Game 7, where he got in time trouble, he was the one who was outplaying Jan Nepomniachtchi. In Game 8, he had a winning position. Now, Jan put up some very stubborn defense, but Ding Liren outplayed him, had a winning position, and didn't win the game. So I feel like this actually is a moment where Ding Liren is experiencing some fortune because his position was terrible, and it happens to be very late in the match, and we'll get some recency bias. But if I think for a second and look at the match as a whole, Ding Liren, I didn't think he deserved to be trailing based on the way he played. So I feel like for Ding Liren, this is a huge moment. He is bouncing back. He is about to level this match up. And I wouldn't say he is undeserving of being 6-6 after game 12. So he could have lost the match in this game, and that is fortunate for him. But if I just take a step back, if I look at the match as a whole, Ding Liren has not been a worse player. I think they've been very level, and so a 6-6 score feels about right.
Yeah, I don't think that we can talk about luck because this has been up and down, and for sure, Ding is not lucky to be in this position. Or, I mean, maybe considering what the position was 30 minutes ago, we can say that. But as a whole, yeah, obviously he's counting his lucky stars because things could have been a lot worse. But both these guys made mistakes throughout this match. They had their chances. They missed their chances as well. I can think of like one moment where Jan will definitely regret earlier in the match, which was when he decided to take the exchange, right? And he allowed this monster knight on f5 and in the English game, reverse Sicilian game earlier in the match. I think it was probably game 4. So there's definitely some moments they can both regret so far. For Ding, of course, game 7 and game 8, that was a nightmare stretch for him because he could have been 2 out of 2 instead of half out of 2 from those 2 games.
Oh my God. What we're witnessing right now is just, it's unsurpassed. It's something that we haven't seen happen before. This, to me, looks like Ding has used up one of his 9 lives today, surviving this one. And simply because Jan played such a great game from the start. He took his chances. He went for short castle. He went into that deep dark forest we keep coming back to of complications. He did not shy away from it. Some brave, fearless decisions. I'm still thinking, Robert, how do you explain the last few moves by Jan being so close to it, but move by move, just undoing everything that you've created, being so close to becoming world champion? Yes, not for certainty, but for all practical purposes, it was clear. And Jan right now is fighting the demons in his head because he's also thinking about what he's missed out on his game, not just the fact that he's completely lost, but the fact that he perhaps lost the world championship title with this game.
It's an impossible question to answer, and the reason why is it's an impossible experience, impossible situation to replicate without being in the World Championship stage. Now, we have somebody who played a World Championship match against Magnus Carlsen. That's Fabiano with us, but I think one of the big differences is that Jan Nepomniachtchi had the lead, and he was about to make it a 2-point lead. And so, Fabi, I mean, you can maybe comment on this. I don't know, it's kind of speculation to some extent, but nerves had to be a huge factor. And the exhaustion after playing now a 12th game of chess, you know that these players have been giving it their all. They really must be just out of gas.
Yeah, exhaustion is definitely playing a huge part in this. And I think also the weight of the moment, because for sure Jan realized, like, some part of him understood that He's very, very close in this game to winning the game and to making that huge step forward to becoming world champion. And the weight of that also can weigh on you. It can get in your head a bit. The excitement of potentially winning, also a brilliant game. I'm sure he felt like he was playing a brilliant game, winning a brilliant game with the black pieces. The whole narrative of it is in your head, like I'm going to win a world championship match with one of the best games I've ever played. You know, just slowly outplaying a player as good as Ding from an equal position, like just from the opening, equal, maybe even slightly worse from black. All of this was in his head. I'm sure that this contributed in great part to why. Uh, yeah, and I can feel. I think all of us, everyone in the chat, can also feel the pain of losing a chess game. We've all been there. So
This is brutal. This is brutal. It's the pain, the beauty of chess, but also just how cruel a game it is. And we can see that on Yan right now. And Robert, he's fighting a bad position, but right now he's fighting his mind. And how difficult is it for him to even try to create chances here? If we just look at it from a practical purpose, is there a way now for Yan to try to hold it, or is it completely a lost cause?
He might resign. No, this game is over and he knows it. I mean, I don't know if this was just he forgot the e6 pawn was hanging directly or if he was relying on something, but there isn't anything here. And I feel for Jan. I mean, you look at him, right? He is absolutely devastated because he had a world championship title just right there in his hands and it just fell out of his grasp. And now all of a sudden, he's dead lost in this game. It's about to be 6-6. He does get the white pieces tomorrow, but his mentality has to shift. He needs to play for a win. He needs to play something, not, he doesn't have to go all in, of course, but he needs to start playing ambitiously. Whereas if he had drawn today, or if he had won today, he would have just played a solid game. So I think he's just going back in this game thinking, what was I doing? How could I not get the most out of this position? How could I not win? But he is going to resign. He is going to lose this game, and he will need to clear his head for tomorrow.
Yan is in agony right now.
yeah, there's no way to fight. D5 is coming no matter what move you make. It's just D5 next. There's nothing left, no hope left for black. Yeah, this is. I think his task now will be to recover mentally from this one. This is going to be a tough one to recover from.
And just to push back on that, that's exactly what it was, right, Fabi? It's not just about Ding making his comeback in this match, but Yan being so close to closing the match. Having a winning position with the black pieces, Yan did it once in game two. He took the first win with black, and he almost did it at the most critical point. Almost being the key word here. But it just looked like he went suddenly on a self-destruct mode. Did he start playing on Ding's clock? Was he so confident that he was blitzing out moves and overlooking things? Questions which not only we are asking as commentators, as chat, but Yan also has to answer for himself what happened. And of course, if Ding takes this one, Yan will not even have time. There's no rest day to recover before the next game. And look at Yan. He's unable to look at the position right now.
Yeah. I think that yeah, I've had these moments as well where you do something and then afterwards you're like, how could I have possibly done this? And then it's just going through your head like all the moments in the game where there was some good move, some good chance, or just thinking back on that position after a4, like why didn't I just play a6 and let my opponent stir in his thoughts of how to create some counterplay rather than I think we really need to maybe go back to that moment in the analysis because like this is just a ruin of a position.
Yeah.
And we might see, Robert, as you mentioned, a resignation here because it's difficult to even come up with a move for black.
Wow. And he's been in a 13-minute think, but again, it's not just the lines. It's just hard to come up with a response currently with the black pieces. Rook takes e6, picking up that third pawn by Ding Liren has just left Yan with a completely lost, busted position here, which means that Ding is right now staring at a comeback for the third time. Yan continues to be in disbelief. he is running down on the clock as well. We haven't seen that happen, something that Yan probably did not expect it, even in the worst nightmare from the position that he was coming from. He's down to 5.5 minutes on the clock, but it's not about the clock. The position is completely lost for Black. The threat of d5 on the board, nothing saving Black's king. Yan was the one who was on the attack throughout, putting that pressure on Ding's king, and Ding also realizes it. He knows he's keeping his calm, he's keeping his composure, but this is a big moment for Ding as he's staring at his third comeback at a very critical moment where he will equalize the match going into the final 2 games of the World Championship.
And you can see it on, in Ding, and he just is more determined than ever. He had his back against the proverbial wall. He was in trouble. He went for it. It was backfiring. Everything was going wrong for him, but he fought very hard to get back into this game. And Jan, he was his own worst enemy. That quick decision making, something we've said about Jan in the past. We thought that he's changed a lot, winning the candidates twice, playing a world championship match back in 2021 against Magnus Carlsen. But sometimes, our worst habits come back at the worst possible moment. And Jan is going to be very upset with himself for some of his quick decisions, allowing Ding Liren some much needed counterplay. And right now, Jan has no counterplay of his own. He is down material. He is down on time. His king is about to be knocked down because he might just resign here. This is 1-0, and that means we'll have a 6-6 match.
Yeah, I think it's. I do kind of see a move not to resign. It suddenly came to me. It's the move knight to e5. Because if rook h6, knight g4, there's a d5 is knight by bishop e5. There's actually a threat of knight takes f2. It's a pretty strong threat. It probably doesn't work out for Black anyway, but
Bobby, I think at this point, Jan is just incapable of making a move right now. He's just in complete shock.
No, I'm just trying to find some move not to resign the game on the spot, at least to create the chance for a mistake for your opponent. But after knight e5, I think rook takes e5 is just very, very clinical and easily crushing Black. So even knight e5, and that would be a great, I think, bullet try. I mean, Hikaru would play that and probably win in Title Tuesday if he were doing that. But yeah, here it's not too difficult to refute.
It's painful to watch this, honestly. I'm looking at Jan. I'm seeing that just pure devastation, that anger. It gets to you. I mean, as a fan of chess, in addition to commentating, you always want to see great games, all these great fighters. But it's painful as somebody who's played a lot of chess to lose a game like this. I mean, I've never been on this stage, of course, Fabi. You have been, but I think we kind of all can understand what Jan is going. This is a very human moment, and I feel for him. Even though if you're a Ding Liren fan, you're thrilled. I think even then you're still upset for Jan just because of how he's feeling right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously very, very painful to lose in general, and especially on the biggest stage. And yeah, we saw exchange sack, queen takes h5, will likely maybe f3. I don't know. F3, d5 seems d5, bishop e5, rook e5. There's a little bit to calculate. F takes g2, king takes g2, knight f4. The king runs. Instead, he takes, I think, d5 here, followed by d6 is very clinical. King g8, d6, and that's the black king is getting hunted, and white is up a lot of material, so d6 quickly played and resigned.
Handshakes, and that is it. d6 on the board. It is game over. Ding Liren comes back in the match after a lot of twists and turns in this one. Jan Nepomniachtchi resigns in that position. Wow, we've got a match on our hands.
I'm impressed that Jan is willing to discuss the game after, because obviously it's such a bad moment for him in this match, and he must be completely disgusted with how it all ended today.
That was a big heartbreak moment for Jan, who was completely winning, and he was better for the most part of the game. But Ding Liren, hanging by a thread, used his opportunity. We saw a collapse by Yan, move after move. And with that, going into game 13, it means